Back again. Karl is back. I'm gonna tell your friends. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It's bloody beautiful to be back in the Blackout bonanza. It is week number 7, round number 7, as it were, of season 17, and we are in for a firecracker because tonight, ladies and gentlemen. By the way, Jay Lane's in the chat. I'm glad you're back home, mate. I believe you're back home anyway. I'm glad the op went well. I hope you're recovering well, and hopefully see you back on the grid very soon. But I wish you a very speedy recovery, my friend. Anyway, where are we going this week? You can see it in the title, but we are off to Baku, and only Baku. And that only means one crucial piece of news, because racing tonight, making a long overdue return to racing proceedings, is none other than Captain Wilco, aka the Baku bombist. Oh no. So this could get very interesting, to put it one way. It could get very interesting indeed. Goodness great, it feels like it's been an absolute eternity since the last round that we did. As you can see, we were at Miami and Brazil. If you haven't seen it, I'm uploading it tonight on my YouTube channel, probably after I've streamed this. And if you're watching this as a rerun, happy Easter. But it'll be on there, so go and check it out. Should be a great time. But again, my PC didn't want to play ball. I believe I fixed it. I'm touching all the wood on my desk, and it is authentic, so we are in good stead. But it was a great time, Miami and Brazil. Like I say, we did a little bit of F2 in Miami. The fiery and ferocious world of Formula 2 before returning to the fabulous and glamorous Formula 1 circus for the Brazilian Grand Prix. This time around, it's just Formula 1. It's all the gloves off. But we go balls to the wall for 100% race around Baku. Boom, says Wilco. That is going to be his preferred sound effect tonight. Rather appropriate, as he is the Baku bombist. But I'm sure all of that is to come. Now, a lot of you probably are wondering, what's the championship looking like? Well, to put it very succinctly to you all, to put it very succinctly indeed, on the Blackout Championship Master Sheet, which I forgot to screen grab and download, which is completely my fault, but Timalele leads the driver standings over Milo. But the gap is only 2 points. It is stratospherically close. You almost can't come closer. Unless they were, had the same number of points. Or had just 1 point. But anyway, look, the point is, it's close in the Drivers' Championship. We've got Terziak, Thanasi, Tirik. There's only 4 points separating them from 172 down to 168. And then all the other bits and pieces besides. But it's also close, ladies and gentlemen, in the Constructors' 2, because McLaren have currently the lead with 336 points. Mercedes not far off, though. They are on 304 points. Aston Martin third on 276. Alpine in fourth on 267 points. Williams in fifth on 240. A little bit of a gap below that to Ferrari. But it's anyone's game in the top 5 currently, as we have just crossed over, to make sure I don't make a tit of myself. Oh dear, I've deleted the calendar. I have made a tit of myself. We have reached the fulcrum point of the season. This is the halfway mark, and we are soon to cross the bridge of the fulcrum stage, because it's about to get very tasty indeed. We are waiting for proceedings to get underway. And speaking of proceedings, here we go. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. As you can see, we are preparing for all of the action that is about to ensue, because it is qualifying for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. And not only that, it is a short quali. Normally when we do 100% races, it is 3 stages, the full shebang. Not this time around, though. We are going for the short qualifying session, and then it's going to be a manic 100% race. So that's probably why they have at least spared some of our livelihoods from what could otherwise be a catastrophically and categorically long evening. Qualifying time, and here are all your drivers. We have one Ferrari on the grid, but it is not Mr. Stark. The Baku bombist is here to whip up a storm and probably blow things up in Baku, which makes him, I don't know, makes him a concern to NATO probably, but, or maybe NATO actually have signed him. Who knows? I knew the contract offer looked shady. Anyway, we have a V-carb car in the form of Vulcan. As I said, J-Lane has been in hospital, had an operation, wishing him nothing but the speediest of recoveries. That was lag central as we came out of the pit lane. That's a bit of a worry. Why is that lag central? I'd rather it didn't do that. Is my game just balked? Hang on a second. Good news is I do at least have some... What is going on? Where are my video settings? Give me graphic settings right now. No, not ultra high. Jesus Christ. Let's all just chill out for a second. Let's all just chill out. Okay. Fixed! Look at that. I'm a genius. Right, on board with Tyrrell, who I believe is the first car out on the track. It's qualifying time. Stark says this should be fun, and I am inclined to very much agree with you. Because Baku always throws up a bonanza. A absolutely bonkers time. And I am going to enjoy, and we are all going to enjoy, absolutely every single moment of it. Of course, qualifying only the first order of the day. Some leagues might have some points for pole position. Alas, we do not. But it is pride, at least. You are a... Thanks, J-Lane. I do my best. I trained in the Magic Circle for 3 years, and they told me one crucial thing. Never reveal your secrets to... Oh, for God's sake. Anyway, it's time for a qualifying lap. It's time to ride on board with a Frenchman. Except he's not a Frenchman, but it is a French car. We head down the back straight, the main straight of Baku. Balls to the wall, revage to the maximum, and then we dart the nose in towards T1. Pray that the aerodynamics comply and hope that the rear sticks to the ground as those rear brakes scream out for resuscitation. And then down the back straight, turning on a bit of the overtake, opening up the DRS for some maximum flappage. And then it's towards the next squared off left-hander. Get as close to the wall on the inside as you dare. Can afford to cut it a little bit more sometimes, but you definitely don't want to cut that one. Clatter over the curbs, you clobber up your lap time, and it's a catastrophe. Now you want to keep very close to the wall here, pinch a late apex, throw the car into the right-hander as Jambal Tarquin joins in the fun. We've also gained another person out of nowhere somehow, cutting that right-hander to perfection. You have to play chicken with a curb that play so much and then fly through the castle section with pace and purpose. The impetus on a good start to qualifying cannot be overstated. To get the ball rolling in the right way, to carry through marvellous momentum all the way through the session. That's exactly what every driver is looking for. As round a plethora of Mick Schumacher's cruises we go. At least outside of the World Endurance Championship, he's finding a way to enjoy his holidays. Out of the final proper corner then, it's a clean and comprehensive lap from Tyrrell, purple sector 2, as he is the first one to go through it. As Stark's joined, that's who it was. I thought Stark had disappeared. No matter, we do have 2 Italian stallions gallivanting around the Baku city circuit. But the first one to stamp their authority on the leaderboard is Tyrrell, and it's a 1:39.4. Very nicely done. But there are plenty of takers behind. Williams across the line, I think it was. I think they might have just been starting a lap, actually, as the Baku bomber goes into P2. Taking advantage of his opponents from behind, I see. You dirty man. Maximus across the line. He goes last of the pecking order for the time being, but Vulcan next. He moves himself up into provisional P3, but not before a Mercedes of my darling husband, Magico, moves up to P3 himself. Lovely job there from my betrothed in the Silver Arrows car, who have come under some scrutiny recently, but more on that later, because Slam is about to scythe his way up the order like that into P2. It's poetry in motion, ladies and gentlemen, and Slam's lap wasn't bad either. Just half a tenth between himself and the Baku assassin in P3, but he properly unleashed the car there. Nice sponsor. Stark, however, he's put up his first account of the night. However, hardly used any ERS. I can only assume he's going to be doing some race runs. But across the line he goes. It's P6 nonetheless. Another Alpine across the line of Pathiman. Across the line he goes to slam a couple of people down. That would have worked better if he got up to P2. But no matter. It's good progress for the time being. Elsewhere, we have a Dirkleton who is just finishing up their lap time. The daring and devilish Dutchman in the Red Bull car, bombing down the Baku back straight. Maximum DRS and ERS across the line. It's P4 for the time being, almost breaching into the 1 minute 40s. Across the line, well, not across the line, into the pit lane. Goes an Italian stallion. That will be the Baku bomber, going in for a little bit of rest and recuperation. As we have Buck57 getting a cheeky toe from his teammate Thanasi. Across the line he goes, but it was only enough to elevate him to P8. We have Aston Martin, singular. The Flying Scotsman on an outlap, about to start, and start he shall. The McLaren of Buck20 behind as well. Stark will be coming across the line to complete a lap, that's for absolutely sure. But Buck20, probably with about 65 wings, and on medium tyres, which is rather interesting. Probably not the most incredible in terms of pace, however, there is method to his madness. Bucks bring fizz, rule number 1. Don't check their cloud storage. Terziak through the right-hander then. Let's see what his Sector 1 account has opened up. He's gone through it with some relative interest. I don't know what the fastest one is, but it's not Terziak's. Tyres bite into the bitumen through the right-hander then, and he better not a Aramco... I was going to say a Aramco into the barrier, but it would be better if he crashed into the Aramco, wouldn't it? Just edit it, it's fine. And there's now 16 people, ladies and gentlemen, because Milo has joined. There are 2 McLarens on the grid. This is the most people we've had in a while. I will preface this by saying I've had a cold for the last week, so I'm sorry if I'm sounding a bit neutered, but I am going to remain resilient regardless. The Flying Scotsman then, chugga on down the back straight in the city circuit. It's P2 for the time being, but absolutely no one can touch Tyrik's time at the moment. 9/10 of a second separates him from anybody else. It's a tall order to catch the Alpine man at the moment, but there are many more takers on the move, one of which is Jamble Tarquin. Break at the 50-meter board. It's interstellar how late you can break in this game. I can't quite believe it. Utterly spellbinding to watch. I'm too used to F1 23 and, I don't know, realism. Through the left-hander, a little bit of time left on the table, but you cannot play chicken with the walls too quickly, or with that right-hand curb, but it seemed that Jamie Tarquin was not too unsettled. The Tarquin, though, has a purple Sector 1, so Terziak wasn't that far off getting the best of the session, and Jamie Tarquin's just proved it. Only a tenth quicker was enough to get some juicy violet colour all over the map, but contact with the wall, and that is going to compromise his momentum all the way through the condescending castle section, where the car sliding helplessly through the right-hander gets it all together with an armful of chop. It's elbows out stuff from Jamie Tarquin, even with the barriers around Baku. Break as late as you dare. Don't touch the wall, which he does anyway. You can't fault him for pushing, if anything else, but one final corner to go. Nip at the apex, use as much of the track as you can, and now it is foot to the floor, pedal to the metal, as Buck 57 moves up into P7, taking a second off his namesake. Good news for him, but Jamie Tarquin, where can he start to go? Buck 20 improves drastically up to P5. He makes it into the 140s. What can Jamie Tarquin do? He's in the 139s. That's an incredible lap from Jamie Tarquin. Well played, sir. And goes for a little spot of the Red Bull graveyard. Not 6 years prior. How poetic. Jamie Tarquin, though, great lap. It's the only one of the drivers so far that has looked like pushing Tyrrell to the absolute limit or trying to push pure Tyrrell for pole position today. But still plenty of time to go. I say plenty. It's only 7.5. How quickly did that go? Jesus, man. Anyway, lots of people on laps. The Baku bombist is one of them, and he's about 2 tenths up on his current lap time. Across the line he goes, and it's enough. 4P3, half a second's worth of an improvement, puts him right at the forefront of the second row of the grid. But plenty of times to tumble. Speaking of which, here's a man we haven't talked about yet. Championship leader. Hardly anything in it. And there's hardly anything in it now for pole position. It's going to get tasty, ladies and gentlemen. Savour the competition. That is all I will say. Savour it to the mass. Because it is going to be brilliant. Fantastic stuff, but plenty of times still to tumble. Milo still waiting in the pit lane for his opportune moment. For his prime chance to strike. Thanasi hasn't even got a time on the board yet. However, flicking it in with purpose at the left-hander. The front end so bitey. And still he continues using all of the track. He's leaving nothing in it, but I assume using absolutely no ERS at all. And well, no front wing on the right-hand side as well. So that's put pay to that particular pole position attempt. Elsewhere, Dirkleton crossing the line to begin another flying lap in this session. Mr. Magico crossing the line to complete an actual flying lap into the 1 minute 40s. Very, very nicely done. Good stuff, Magico. Into P9 he goes. Ferrari's on the prowl, though. How can a horse prowl? Don't ask that question. I don't know either. What other times dare to tumble down? In a Williams case, it will not. Thanasi enters the pit lane. That's his race simulation done. He even limited himself on the front wing just to give everyone else a bit of a chance. And Milo has entered the fray. He is here. Was initially some doubt as to whether he'd make the Baku weekend, but he has come alive and come along to join the fun. McLaren, one of them currently 7th. And Kick Sauer, by the way, are doing a great job out there. Sorry, I've completely missed it. Maximus in P6, Slam in P8 currently. Have hardly talked about them, but Slam on an outlap for what could be his last lap of the qualifying session. Not only that, he is right in the slipstream of the Ferrari up ahead. And that is only going to help him and benefit him, providing he calculates the braking correctly as well and doesn't overcook it. He's using all of the slipstream he possibly can, is Slam. Pulling out from this, well, Stark just basically gives him a helping hand. Who says junior teams don't exist? Stark retires, that's it. That's his qualifying session done. He's daring to start from the back of the grid. Well, they say fortune favours the bold, but surely in Baku, boldness means brutality, because that could only end in disaster normally. I'm willing to be proven wrong, though. Slam through the first sector towards the left-hander we go. Car complying nicely. Switch it to the left-hand side. Over the curbs a little bit, but luckily it's F124. Curbs don't apply. Then to the left-hander. Taking a very, very early entry is Slam, but the car gets through there nicely. Or should I say the driver? The piece of protein behind the wheel probably has something to do with it as well. I'm not going to lie. Castle section. An historic part of the Baku City circuit in about 128p. And equally, Slam doing a decent job not to write himself into the history books with another crash at the Baku Castle section. Through to the left-hander. Turns downhill. Tricky braking zone. Can lock up very, very easily. Not like it's an uphill bit where it does assist it. But Buck20 says time to get off these mediums. Ladies and gentlemen, he's been limiting himself the entire time. Dirkleton, meanwhile, has invalidated a lap up ahead. He will not, improve to be opening the account. Okay, so braking, well, not everywhere, just in that corner. Just in the downhill. Although I'm going off limited intel. Oh my god, Slam, what a lap that is! 139.915 into P4 he goes. That's a luscious lap from Slam in the kick Sauber. Goodness gracious me. 4 drivers now have made it into that 1:39 barrier. Oh. Start crashed into the pit lane. Buck20 said too late, rip my lap. Well, if you get a move on, you'll be fine. Where's Milo going to be, though? He's done a lap, and equally, he could just go straight for a second lap in a row if he wanted to. Across the line he goes, and for his only lap, it's not a bad showing at all. A 140.622. And McLaren right next to each other in solidarity on the grid. Magico retires from the session. That will be the end of that for him. Anywhere else, is there someone who dares to do a lap? The answer is Vulcan is daring to do a lap, as is Dirkleton. He'll be the first one to cross the line. And he is actually properly going for it this time. What's running with 100 kg of fuel? There you go. Start driving a figurative Ford Focus instead of a Ferrari F1 car round the Baku City circuit. And actually, considering it was... What's the crowd getting loud for? Dirkleton's doing a mighty nice job. Don't be so mean. None of them are crashed. Towards the line goes the Red Bull, Derek Dirkleton. He improves by a 1/10 of a second, but it will not elevate him any higher than P12. That will do it for Dirkleton as Terziak's just come across the line to start his final flying lap of the session. Many other takers waiting in the wings, though, to try and ascertain their dominance on the rest of the field. First one of which is Vulcan. There's a yellow flag up ahead with a slow green machine, which is not too unlike real life in this occasion. But across the line goes the lone V-carb. And it will be a small improvement again, but no position gained. And it looks like Buck20 just, and I mean just, made it across the line with time to spare. Mighty good job from Buck20. He said it was too late. Never say never, my friend. Now to see who will cross the line first. The purple... I'm sitting up now. I'm on the edge of my seat. Buck57. It could be 7th heaven here. 7 in what statistic? Don't even ask me, but it's a cracking Sector 2 sponsor. And now towards the line, tobogganing down the straight. DRS open to the maximum. And across the line for P5 for the time being. But there are many, many more times that will come down. And Alpine's across the line. Pathiman moves up to P3. Fantastic stuff. And now it's Thanasi, a Ferrari, to go across the line. The Baku Bomber will cross the line up to P5. Thanasi crosses the line. It's pole position. But then Tyrrell comes along directly behind to snatch it from the jaws of victory from Thanasi. Pure Tyrrell takes a chomp out of that potential catastrophe and says, no, you don't. That's mine for the taking. Terziak couldn't improve. It was 1,000th off. Oh, no! Timalele crosses the line to go into the 1:38. And the only driver to go into the 1:38. That was the difference. The only one to breach the barrier. The only one who dared to dream and pushed Baku City Circuit to the absolute limit and beyond. Timalele takes pole position for the Silver Arrows. Tyrrell and Thanasi behind came close, but there can only be one. And Timalele remained tremendous for another pole position. The championship leader in full flow. As we wait for qualifying to finally come to a close. The German driver in a German car, which is based in Britain. I don't know either, but it is pole position for Timalele. Hardly gave him a look in. Bucks posted a link that said did not improve. Well, I mean, there you go. Despite that, on mediums, you still came 11th. And I think that's a more than commendable showing, my friend. Timalele on pole position with a 138.9. Tyrrell P2. Thanasi and Pathiman 3rd and 4th. Jamie Tarquin 5th. The Baku Bombist in 6th. Terziak Slam, Buck 57, Maximus, Buck 20, Milo, Magico, Dirkleton, Vulcan, Stark. That's your grid, ladies and gentlemen. And Stark might be outside the 107% rule, so Blackout, you might want to take a look at that quickly. Just saying. If there's one thing we learnt in the very short sleep overnight as we head into the scorching sunlight of Azerbaijan, it's never count Timalele out. Never count anyone out in the Blackout Racing League. But there's a reason why Timalele's at the top of the standings. And he proved it there. Blistering pace, combined with a very strong whiff of consistency. But will that remain today? Because in Baku, traditionally the status quo dissolves in a heartbeat. And that's what we love about Baku. There will be no formation lap. There will be no pre-formalities. There will just be racing around here. And the Paddock Club is going absolutely mild. Look at them. Or rather, don't look at them. Let's play a game, actually. Jaylen's had the same idea as me. He says, how many safety cars am I predicting? 51 laps at Baku. Blackout Racing League before? I think 4 safety cars. I'm going to put it as 4. I don't even know if the limit's 3 or 5 anymore. Doesn't really matter. It's time to get the Baku Bonanza underway. Lights out and away we go, and let's see what kind of start Timalele can get versus Tyrrell. He's dropped anchor. Tyrrell's through into P1, but Thanasi was too hot on the throttle pedal, and he's hit straight into the back of Timalele and now into the wall. Goes Thanasi, was once on the inside, quickly transitioned to the outside, and Milo has also been collected in the scrap. But Tyrrell with a scorching start out of the blocks and into P1. Timalele P2, and now being put under immense pressure by Jamie Tarquin. Slamming P4, Pathiman 5th, Terziak up to 6th, basically inherited because Thanasi's down in 14th. And why is the Baku Bombist and Buck 57? Well, they've got no front. Lads, be careful. Don't crash. I don't want one safety car already. Tyrrell, though, looking to immediately make amends for a qualifying session that he might have felt got away from him. He's already a second ahead of Timalele. He's absolutely flying at this early stage. It's the Alpine driver. Almost immediately harks me back to a day where an Alpine driver round Baku immediately ran away from the rest of the field and tried never to look back. I wonder when that was. Any ideas? Nope, I've got none. Stark down the inside of Vulcan, meanwhile, towards the left-hander. He said braking. I told him braking was going to be an issue. He has no such problems or qualms with the brake pedal. And he's through into the top 10. Magico into P9, by the way. It's the greatest day of my life as a loving wife. Tyrrell will cross the line then. He has P1. firmly under his name as Buck 20 going for a move down a straight line. I thought his car produced, well, pretty much up thrust with the amount of downforce he had, but Buck 20 not only getting past Terziak, tries to go around the outside of Pathiman as well, turns it into a switchback nose, feints to the inside to try and throw Pathiman off kilter, and it's worked slightly, gets a good exit, and he will have DRS. The Alpine does not have said luxury, and dastardly and devastating DRS will not catapult Buck 20 anywhere. It will not even slightly alongside. As Stark gets past my husband, 4P9 behind. That is the actual effectiveness of DRS at play. As Tyrrell particularly strong in Sector 1, and for quite a chunk of Sector 2. Timalele, though, knows by the time he gets to the castle section, at least on the first lap, he has the ability to rein in that gap again and reel in the big fish up ahead. Through that right-hander, gaining 0.3 of a second. That's a mighty time gain through there. Good grief. Timalele trouncing the margin that Tyrrell has built up, but again, he manages to extend it just outside of a second. That's going to be crucial in the context of his race, providing he keeps it. Jamie Tarquin keeping up with Timalele for now as he bombs over the curbs on the hard tyres. Actually, quite a disparity in terms of the strategy. Only one driver on the soft tyres, that being Buck 20. Jamie Tarquin, I'm sure we'll be using a bit of battery. Actually, in fact, doesn't have any to play with, so by the time he gets to the DRS detection point anyway, he will not be able to use it. Oh, no! Milo's had a problem. He's had a big problem. He's dislodged from the back of the pack once again. But not what he would have wanted at all. But his teammate, meanwhile, is having a great time of things. Past Pathiman he goes. It was a long time coming. And Terziak gets through as well. With DRS assistance. With energization. As Stark takes the fastest lap of the race. A 1:43 for the Ferrari driver. One of my first ever commentaries was Stark around Baku. And he made an overtake in the closing stages. Went onto the soft tyres with a few laps to go. Myself and a guy called Ivory, we questioned whether it was the right strategy at the time, but boy did he prove us wrong. As we see Maximus piling all kinds of pressure on Pathiman up ahead. Piling pressure on Pathiman. How many plosives can I put in a sentence? Big slide out of there from Buck 20. A purple Sector 1, if nothing else, in terms of flair. He's absolutely flying out there. Slams into P3. Good grief. Well done. Had a boy slam. That is super for the Kick Sauber team. Both of them on the attack as opposed to defense. He's piling the pressure on Timalele now. Am I living in an alternate reality? What's going on? It's the luck of the Irish. J-Lane's got it on the head. Irish luck it isn't. Well, AI means a couple of things. One of which is artificial intelligence, but it also means alien intelligence as Maximus teleports inside of another man. And Stark now, with a Kick Sauber, dislodged from the Alpine up ahead, has a chance to exercise his devastatingly powerful DRS, suck up that slipstream, and with maximum flappage, right about now, he can get to work, and by the time he even got it open, he was alongside and past. The Ferrari man loves the Baku City circuit, and today is no different. As Buck 20's now up into P3, he's just usurped both Slam and Jamie Tarquin, who can't stop seeming to find the wall at the moment. He's very, very lucky not to have any damage on his Red Bull wagon at the moment. Slam just defending to the inside a little bit in this early stage. But remember, this is a long, long race. We're not even a 10th of the way through this race yet. Come the next lap, that is where we will be. But equally, we have many, many stanzas to go through. We have to watch the dynamic duo at the front, Tyrrell and Timalele, but many hungry sharks waiting and sniffing blood in the water. Buck 20 being one of them. Fainting to the inside of the Mercedes ahead. Again, it's just trying to throw them offline. Open up any avenue for yourself possible. Force them into a mistake. Half the time, that's the way you get it done. Force them to make the error, defend too narrow, brake too late, they go offline and you say thank you very much, slip up the inside with a switchback. It's the easiest overtake you could ever hope for. Stark again is on the move. He's absolutely flying in the Ferrari car, using every single millimetre of the bitumen available to him. Ferrari man loving life on these medium tyres at these early stages with the heavy cars. Just got to take their time here, but Timalele, again, has been disjointed from DRS. He wasn't within a detection point, but look who certainly is. Buck 20 on the move, and the McLaren man with DRS wide open easily gets through into P2 and can definitely sense that there is an opportunity to lamp up into the lead and absolutely launch Tyrrell into the middle of Georgia. Actually, that's a bit political. I'm sorry. Oh, Vulcan's into the pits. I can only assume it's for front wing damage because that is very early to get off a set of hard tyres. Means Milo's up to P13. And yes, as predicted, the Visa Cash App car needs a transaction of a new nose. As what? Jamie Tarquin's had a big issue. He's down the runoff and he'd actually do well to reset to the track because there have been many occasions as he's doing an Austin Powers in it. It's a rather comical situation. But at the end of the day, he does get out of there unscathed. No disqualification necessary whatsoever. Down to P13. He goes after what was such a promising start for the Red Bull driver. It goes... Well, the ramifications of it have put his beginning stanza in tatters. However, someone savouring the sweeter feeling of motor racing is Buck 20. Timalele not finding pace on the hard tyres at the moment, and this man and the Alpine ahead are finding the advantage. A potential to work together possibly in these early stages, a tenth of the way through, and Buck 20 with ERS deployment and DRS at his disposal will try and go for the lead in this race, but they'll both do well not to let the Mercedes man back into this fight. Using a bit of the slipstream, hardly pushing, a slam goes through on Timalele into P3, kick Sauber, rise. A rise kick Sauber as Milo gets through on Dirkleton. Meanwhile, that's the other overtake of the day. Into P11 goes Milo. It's a recovery job from the start of the race, but he on the medium tyres going well and going smoothly as Jamie Tarquin comes into the pit lane. I can only assume that is also for a front wing, and indeed it is. New front wing on the wagon of Jamble Tarquin, and back to the action up at the front. Tyrrell, your leader then. Buck 20, just over half a second behind. And then Slam just teetering on the coattails of DRS range. Through the castle section, we go then on lap number 6 of the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. At the moment, it's the Alpine of Tyrrell leading, but Buck 20 hot on his heels. Not only that, the pursuit from behind has grown extremely frozen because Slam nowhere near getting some DRS assistance and extra pace from the rear wing. He is, however, out of DRS, albeit only briefly, of Timalele. So even Tim's got work to do, and Terziak is all over him. Hard tyres do not seem to be the play whatsoever. They're not firing up at all, and Buck 20 might not have done it on the last lap, but he's going for it on this one. To the finish line we go. On to lap 7, we have a new race leader, and his name is Buck 20. Beautiful stuff from the McLaren man, as Stark again takes the fastest lap time to town in that Ferrari. He's caught up to the top 6 battle. This is unbelievable from Stark. Right from the back of the grid. Kept his nose clean at the start, took advantage of others fighting when they should have just waited and watched carefully, because a sumptuous switchback is just around the corner. Outside line for the Ferrari man. Terziak leaves the space, and it is absolutely sublime from Stark. The Scuderia still going at it though. Terziak's not giving this one up, not for 1 second. One of them will have to concede as they now enter into the right-hander. Still Stark remains alongside, but Terziak gets over the curbs and will keep P5 for now. But it's very clever from the Ferrari man, extremely intelligent actually, because while they've just been fighting away, he now has dislodged the Aston Martin driver from the DRS ahead. And that means he has a much, much easier time of getting through and then deploying his pace properly as he makes his way and continues his ascension up the field. Through the left-hander again. And you are about to witness once again, as look at that, the curb doesn't even affect the car in terms of bottoming out. Your bit of battery usage from the Ferrari driver. And the Italian and Stallion prances on to the inside. And before they even reach DRS territory, Stark breezes through into P5 as Buck 20 retakes the lead of the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Up into the top 5 goes the Ferrari man, and now he needs to get up the road quickly. You've all seen with your very eyes, he has got the pace to do it. Pathuman's now getting interested in this battle as well. So these guys can ill afford to fight and start using, as expected, a lot of battery. As Tyrrell again goes to the inside to retake the lead of the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. They've got a 2 seconds cushion, albeit briefly, because then they lose half a second as Thanassi's on the move, ladies and gentlemen. He's now through into P8. You don't want an angry Thanassi, rule number 1. If things seem to unravel for him at the beginning of the race, as Jamie Tarquin blitzes the fastest lap of the race, Jesus. He is in P15, but he, you know, every little helps. Every little helps. But you don't want an angry Thanassi. Angry Thanassi is quick Thanassi. If I'm talking about, every Thanassi is quick Thanassi. A Slam, just on the coattails, he is getting close to that DRS range. It is brewing. Milo, by the way, has moved past Magico in all of this. He's into P10 at this particular phase of the race. The McLaren man looking to try and get up to where his teammate is. And that could all be in the safety car and strategy department. All of that is to come. Stark has done decently well, actually, to bring that gap down. He's brought it down by half a second on this lap alone. But equally, Timalele will now get the DRS. And that time delta, as you watch it on the left-hand side of your screen, will come crashing down again. I say down, you know what I mean. It's an inverse proportionate thing. Timalele actually trying to put the pressure on Slam now, getting almightily close to the back of the Kick Sauber car. But ultimately, well, Slam removes Timalele's boot from his diffuser and says, no thank you, sir, I did not give you permission. Remains in P3. And in the Slam fan club, it is still shamrocks and flags all over the place. The Green Machine loving life in the top 3. 9 laps in, almost a fifth of the way through this race, and Slam is on the move. Start getting closer and closer. The gap down to 1.5 seconds. As Thanassi is now 1.8 seconds behind. I'm just going to ride on board with the Williams driver for a little bit, because he definitely has pace. Not those 2 corners didn't go well. We won't talk about that. But this corner here, the right-hander, using every single inch of the track, briefly gains a 1/10 of a second, and then through the castle section, threads the needle brilliantly, and gains 3 temps through that sequence of corners alone. Breaks out of the DRS of Maximus, and now less worrying about what's behind him, and just fearlessly forward for the Williams driver. Look at the way the car rotates as he flicks the wheel into the left-hander. And probably again on this one as well. The rear end's basically on a pendulum. That's some skateboarding from the Williams driver. Goodness me. And now Stark, well, forget 1.2 seconds. The gap's now down to 4 temps. Stark is absolutely flying out there, but Timalele knows he's got to make a move, and so he shall. Into P3 he goes, a car between himself and the Ferrari. Stark knows he has to now get a move on as quickly as possible, so as to not let the Mercedes man marvellously roar off into the distance. At least that will be Timalele's game plan. Stark has to sumptuously slump Slam with a dastardly dive or an overtake of some kind. A dive was not possible though, and he has to wait another day. Look to the inside though, as Slam just gets a bit nervous on the rear end. Things not all as they seem. It's not all sunshine and rainbows when racing at the front. Trust me, I know that. I've been there. Stark again, looking to the inside. These lot, again, now they have to be careful again not to fight, because if they do start fighting, Thanasi's let back into this particular squabble, and then they have a real problem. That's an almighty castle section from Stark once again, but this time not opting to go for the moves. He had a little bit more urgency previously, but now just playing the patient game, will use the DRS, because ultimately, being in DRS and using the slipstream, actually will gain time to the Mercedes ahead, as opposed to squabbling amongst themselves and actually shipping crucial moments that will add up. Millimetric moments will make this race. And Stark has calculated this one to perfection. DRS wide open for the Ferrari man, and the Ferrari man only between himself and the Stabilo highlighter. And Terziak's going to follow through as well, as Buck 20 will enter the pit lane. Stark into P3, and now the chase for Timalele can begin. Buck 20, it looks like he's going to be doing a two-stop today. There's his teammate Milo going through into P9. My husband Magico, go on son, do it. Slide out the final corner. You will have DRS though. Go on husband, you got DRS. Do it to... Oh. Well, you know what? He wasn't far off. Now, back to the front, because Timalele has to try and be a good sponge and start practically pushing him through the left-hander. That's really rude for the Ferrari man, but you know what? It's a wake-up call. It has to be a wake-up call. Scuderia synapses firing on all cylinders. All the pressure you can apply as the gap at the front opens up to 3 seconds. I'm actually getting a touch of deja vu. Anyone know who the Alpine was a couple of... No, just... No? Okay, neither do I. That's why I was asking. Stark, though, through the castle section. There you go. The gap remaining relentlessly at 0.4 of a second. Like a rabid greyhound. Phenomenal pace. And concocting an air of chaos wherever he goes, as Milo gets past Maximus. Into P8 he goes. So what was a less than ideal start is beginning to come back to the McLaren man as this race goes on. Still a long, and I mean long way to go. But Stark for now decides P2 is for the taking, and so P2 he shall get. Through he goes, and so will the Aston Martin of Terziak. Both of these two basically pulling each other along through this field. The horse and carriage in full effect. The Italian stallion, of course, at the front of the train. But the Aston Martin assassin and ace is waiting in the wings to pilot a course to uncharted heights. But these two are looking to deploy their pace as best they can. Still, unbelievably, the hard tyres haven't really fired up into a class of their own. 12 laps into this race. Probably because it's a 100% race and not a 50%er. But normally at this stage I would expect a crossover to become very apparent, but it hasn't really provided it hasn't really paid dividends to be on the harder compound of tyre. No evidence unfolding in front of our very eyes, and really what we're seeing is a visualization of the softer compound of tyre doing a great job and due duty in terms of actually applying its pace very, very well. Tyrrell 3.5 seconds out in front though. Absolutely no one's catching him, unless there's a safety car. Well, it was worth a try. 3.4 seconds then, and it looks like there's going to be another change for P2. But all of these lot will do very, very well to work together. Work together and pull each other along. DRS trains seem to be the way in F1 24. Such is the strength of the slipstream. And such is the overall dastardly deployment of DRS. Terziak sweeps on through into P2, and that is going to be the game plan. Down to just below 3 seconds between the Aston Martin man and the Alpine up ahead. They will have to use the back straights to great effect, and Tyrrell will have to push the Baku city circuit beyond its limits. As there's a yellow flag, Vulcan's had a bit of a problem. Front wing damage on the left-hand side, the lone V-carb. Oh, dearie me. Well, through the right-hander he goes. He's got the Baku bomber right on his tail. Don't give yourself more heartache than you've already had. You know what the Baku bombist will do to you. But again, into the pit lane goes Vulcan. Was a Haas driver a couple of seasons ago, now in the V-Carb outfit, and Terziak's actually dropped Stark. So Stark must have made a mistake, because he's had great pace all the way through, and as you can see through the right-hander, he's immediately rectified his mistake. But that is not what he will want whatsoever. He won't want to become huge fodder for Timalele behind. And actually, Terziak's made a mistake of his own. I saw the wobble as he went really, really narrow out of the exit of the castle section. And that gap, which they had brought down by 0.6 of a second, now opens right back up to its starting point. Back to square one for P2 and 3 here on lap number 13. Unlucky for some, and certainly unlucky for these two, as they're shipping more time through. What on earth is going on? Terziak's got absolutely no pace at all. I wouldn't be surprised if there was some kind of an issue at this point. Through goes Stark immediately. Through goes Timalele. And it looks like it could be even more that's going to try and blaze their way past the Aston Martin. Pathiman could be one of them, but defending to the inside very aggressively is Terziak. And going down the inside of Stark is Terziak. That was mightily opportunistic. And what they could ill afford to do, they're doing anyway. Through the left-hander they go. Spotlight firmly on the Scuderia and the Aston Martin, as it's now a drag race down towards the left-hander. In the end, it will be Stark that gets ahead. And now it's Pathiman on the outside of Terziak. And you know what? Pathiman going through as the opportunism overlord into P4. Goes to second Alpine. It's first and fourth on the road for the French team. That is some delightful racing for the outer reaches of the top three. In other news, further back, Buck 20 has got past his teammate Milo on those newer medium compound tyres, looking for a two-stop strategy advantage as he heads through the castle section. A lot of things still to come in this Baku race. I don't think we've seen half of the drama that's going to happen. Oh, by the way, in other news, you know Thanasi, yeah, he's on the back of the DRS train now. You fools, you absolute fools. You literally had one job, I told you this. You didn't listen, you fought too much, and now he's here. What did I tell you? J-Lane, by the way, in response to my Alpine comment, he said, you must mean Tyrrell, the new lad. Well, at the moment, he's writing the history of it as Thanasi looked to the inside there on Slam. Looking very racy in that Williams car. All unravelled for him in a dramatic rate of knots. At the first corner, looking to make amends, already made his way back up to P7. Looking for even more. Oh my god, slammed down the inside. That was a very robust move. And Terziak's been caught out. Through goes Thanasi as well. I think, oh no, Stark's gone straight on at the escape road. And as he got damage on the Ferrari car, I have no idea if he hit the wall. Yes, he does on the right-hand side. And what was such a sensational start for the Scuderia outfit has quickly been thrown into the skip. Stark in P7, and he will have to get that front wing changed. There is no ifs or buts about it. That is terrible news. Lap number 15 of the Baku City Circuit, Azerbaijan Pirelli P0, Mick Schumacher's Cruisers Grand Prix. It's an Alpine in front. Loving the podium and winning feeling in real life. Well, winning in their eyes, P2 and 3. Loving it in real life and lapping it up in the game as well. First and third now, courtesy of Stark's mistake. And now it looks like a Williams is going to try and pile even more pressure onto the French outfit's secure standing, because through goes Thanasi and through goes Terziak into P5. Willie, well, I mean, he'd have to be bonkers to go for a dive, and so he is. But into the pit lane comes Slam and, of course, Stark to get that front wing changed. Now it's a question of where does Buck 20 feature in all of this as Maximus goes round the outside of Buck 20, but gets it crossed up on the exit. And so it will not pay dividends whatsoever. So Buck 20 ahead of Slam and ahead. So it's about 4 seconds worth of an undercut he got on Slam, and obviously significantly more on start because of the front wing change. But not as powerful as one might have first predicted, as now the hard tyres are beginning to come into their own. It was a question of when, not if, and now we are seeing when. Timalele's brought that gap down by a second over the previous lap, although Tyrrell through the castle section, deploying some of his pace as well, just to keep that gap at arm's length, all the same. Pathyman then, holding down P3 for now, but he's got a hungry hippo behind him. That wasn't a fat joke, shut up. Thanasi's on the move. Xbox boys rejoice. Many a Blackout championship has been won by an Xbox driver. In F1 23, I think they were all won by Xbox driving boys. It's unbelievable. Whew, what a time. However, on F1 24, the Xbox clan haven't been so lucky. No, it's been a dried up. The well has been dried up in terms of championship glory for anyone donning an Xbox console. But the status quo is always there to be changed and modulated and adjusted. And if there's anyone that can do it, it's this man. If there's anyone at all. Teetering on the edge of DRS flappage on Pathyman. And then can set his sights up ahead to where Timalele and Tyrrell will begin a fighting. This is what the position changing stats look like. It's a bit all over the place, I'll be honest with you. Top 4, basically all where they were now, barring the top 2 swapping and 3 and 4 swapping. Terziak's up a couple of positions. Buck 20 up 5 positions so far. Maximus up 3. Milo up 4. Magico up 3. Stark up 4. But it can't get any worse than starting last, I'll be honest with you. But, you know, small mercies, I suppose. Small mercies. You didn't have a lot of people that have lost positions. The Baku Bombers lost 9. Jamie Tarquin's lost 8. I mean, there's only so much consolation you can give in that scenario. But a lot of drivers that are still yet to pit in this one. And actually, the drivers that have pitted haven't really received a rampant benefit from it. Buck 20 was 11.9 seconds not but a couple of laps ago, and now is 13 seconds behind. Possibly because Maximus is fighting him to the bitter end. It's a life or death scenario for P6 for the Kick Sauber man, but possibly doing his teammate a favour. Not letting Buck 20 have the undercut all his own way. DRS is open for Thanasi. He's going to go for it on the Alpine driver. Lifts off very wisely, just biding his time. He's saying that P3's a keeper. Spons through the left-hander. Gets it on the curb a little bit, but squares it up nicely. Points the gun, and it's like a bullet out of a gun. All the speed in the world, but nothing doing there. Not enough straight for the Williams driver to work with. The gap at the front, 2.1 on the last lap, has only come down by a tenth. Tyrrell has found a little bit more pace in the reservoir. It's just beginning to make some good progress. A Slam gets through on Milo. Milo looks to the inside to try any form of retaliation, but on the older tyres, always just a little bit too vulnerable. And Slam likes them vulnerable. Don't check his internet history, but through he goes into P8. And Kick Sauber have gambled in this Baku race, and it's paid off handsomely. Cristiano Ronaldo in the Blackout Racing League at Baku, donning the number 7 on the Kick Sauber. I'm surprised it's the only one he could afford. But there he is. Slam, what number's he donning? Couldn't tell you. So I've got the camera angle that only guide dogs would appreciate. Oh, number 8, there you go. Oh no, he's Roman Grosjean. It might be over, lads. What isn't over, though, is the battle for 3rd place. The outer reaches of the podium as we are past the 3rd of the way stage in this race. And it looks like there will be a maneuver, a jostling for position. That'll be very quickly sorted out with the deployment of DRS. Through goes Thanasi. And what was a half spin, practically, well, 3/4 spin at the first corner. What looked to be down in the doldrums. He has ascended astonishingly fast. Up to P3 he goes. And still plenty of time for things to turn in the Williams' favour. Terziak in the pit lane. Where will he rejoin this particular conquest? Ahead of Magico. Slots in behind Milo, though. In the McLaren, Slam has got the undercut. But for how long? That is the question. For how long? Watching the gap between Buck 20 and those ahead properly now, because he's got so much younger tyres. I feel like he should have a gargantuan pace advantage over everybody else, but it's not happening. It is not materialising. And I am unsure as to why. 14.4, that's a big wobble from Maximus behind. A huge wobble, and it's front wing damage for the Kick Sauber man. And when he's just got to concede, he's got to let his teammate through. He knows his teammate's having an absolutely wonderful race, and holding him up would be detrimental to both their afternoons in the grand scheme of things. Or perhaps, maybe Slam feels like actually having some DRS assistance will benefit him more. Depends what Maximus's pace is like through these two corners. Actually, Buck 20 doesn't have that bad of a pace. He's gained 3/10 through the left-handers. But that is not as much as he would have hoped for. He needs to be gaining an insane amount. Near enough a second a lap just to usurp the rest. So that when he comes in for that second pit stop, it will all be signed, sealed, and delivered. Through goes Slam before DRS is even applied, and he will now have it to begin his rise up towards Buck 20. And Maximus's faithful service and sacrifice for the Sauber team comes to an end as he enters into the pit lane. Stark's got through on Dirkleton, meanwhile. Haven't really talked about him, but he's, again, using some good pace on the hard tyres. And that will be his final stop of the entire race. And I'm pretty sure... Wait a second. Slam was on mediums, right? Slam was on... What? I won't question... Oh, no! Jamie Tarquin's left the session. As if it wasn't going cataclysmically enough, he now can't even drive his car. He has to have the bird's eye view. And while all of that has been happening, the hard tyres have come into their own. 20 laps it took for Timalele to properly reach the back of Tyrrell. But the time has come, and the pace looks vastly superior now. There's no denying that. Timalele through the right-hander, through the full throttle chicane they go. Foot to the floor, pedal to the metal. Timalele like tungsten, grit his teeth down, and with an ironclad fist, makes his way through into P1 with DRS, but Tyrrell had already thrown in the towel on that battle. Into the pit lane he goes, as does Mr. Thanasi. Here's the penalty situation, by the way, as Thanasi will pull into the pit box with a purple turn in, I assume, and get some fresh tyres on his wagon. Fresh set of hard boots is the only way... What? Did he need a front wing change? Are you kidding? That was way longer. Did he actually need... Bro had that much... Oh, Jesus. Out he goes onto the track then, and he is behind Magico. He is behind Magico. So the others have stolen a march on him with the initial undercut. But now comes the time where Thanasi can put his pace to good effect. This is the tyre age situation. 20 laps between Thanasi and his next target up ahead of Mr. Magico. Buck 20, the first proper pit stopper that wasn't on for front wing damage or anything like that. He's been on his for 10 laps. But Slam all over the back of him and waiting to pounce at any given opportunity. Sorry, I had water in my mouth. I was giving my throat the much-needed blood plasma of Christ. A costly mistake for Mr. Magico. And through goes Thanasi into P7. That'll be the easiest overtake he ever has to make. And now sets his sights forwards. Terziak got a 2-lap undercut on him. Has 3 seconds worth of a margin for the time being. But Stark, actually, Stark has done absolutely brilliantly because he's made his way back all the way to the back of this pack, relatively speaking. Will get DRS on Magico up into P8 and can basically piggyback off of Thanasi's pace providing he can properly keep up, which I'm sure he can. But if he does, then good grief, we are on for a show. Pathyman into the pit lane. He's on the hard compound tyres. And you know what? You know what? Pathyman's just got past Tyrrell. Pathyman, how's that possible? I have no idea how that's possible, but he's defending he's letting Tyrrell through. Which I think is the wise decision. He's got the colder tyres. He needs a little bit more time to just coax them into the proper window. But that's remarkable. Pathyman managing to get a march on Tyrrell. I have absolutely no idea how, but fair play to you, sir. The French connection in full swing. Pathyman, in that case, using Le Star to do his pit crew. It's pretty good going, and now the Alpine boys can start to work together, providing Pathyman has the pace to keep up. They can piggyback off each other's DRS and really begin piling on the pressure up ahead. Slam up into P2, meanwhile, it was inevitable. That's mostly why I forgot about it. It was inevitable. And he's now managed to execute it at that. But now, Buck 20 has decided he's got some pace again in the slipstream, following another car. Slam just whittling away at the gap to Timalele. Up ahead. But plenty more fun still to come. Lap number 23, approaching the halfway mark of this race. Timalele, your race leader, but yet to pit for Mercedes. Slam in P2 with Buck 20 in P3. Tyrrell, who was our race leader for the majority of this contest, in P4. Pathyman in 5th. Terziak in 6th. Stark up to 7th with DRS. And a very rounded fastest lap for the Ferrari faithful. A 1:43.000. That is about as close as you'll ever get, and then both he and Thanasi hit the wall with respect. Because they rounded off that corner too much. Thanasi holds back on the overtake. Despite having the DRS, he could have easily made it, to be honest, but not wanting to lose too much time to the Aston Martin up ahead. Still plenty of things still to happen in the many, many chapters of the Baku City circuit. Only a few cars still left to pit. Buck 57 and Baku Bomber don't have to be one of them, but I imagine if they try and go medium tyres all the way through to the end, it's going to be a snowstorm of hatred. So they're not going to do that. But the drivers that haven't pit yet at all are Timalele, Magico, and Dirkleton. They still need to stop on their marks, get a fresh set of boots on, and then we shall go from there. At the moment, it's seeing whether Stark and Thanasi can get on the back of Terziak. And you know what? Stark is pushing for all... Well, cometh the man, cometh the hour. With a full complement of front wing and no mistakes on his account, he absolutely flies round this track. Does Stark. It's unbelievable how much pace he has, actually. But now, Thanasi will get the benefits of maximum flappage. Sucking up into the slipstream, chomping on it, and we now have a seat in the Ferrari to see Williams come sweeping past on our left-hand side. There he goes. Thanasi through then into P7, and the charge for Terziak continues, almost breaking into DRS. He might just have got it, actually. Over the line they go. They do not have DRS as the Baku Bomber's had a problem. He's gone off the road. It's not front wing damage, only emotional. Meanwhile, Tyrrell is on the move. On his new set of hard compound tyres, he is caught up to Buck 20. Perhaps the two-stop was not par for the course in this particular race. But the more you know. The more you know. terms of fastest laps of the race, this is what the status quo looks like. Fastest cars on the track by far at the moment are Thanasi and Stark. Pretty much half a second clear of absolutely everybody else, unless your name's Jamie Tarquin and you're on some soft tyres. But otherwise, they are completely decimating everybody else. Other than that, Timalele is on a 43.7. That's his best lap of the race. I wish it could show you the driver's last lap as well as their best lap. Like, sure, seeing their best lap is great, but I want to see their laps on a lap-by-lap basis without having to use a telemetry third-party plugin. That's not what I'm here for. God's sake. Anyway, Tyrrell's pushing Buck 20 through the right-hander. In fact, his speed was so much so, he pulled out the slipstream early just to make sure he didn't clatter into the back of the McLaren man. And now his teammates getting involved as well. Down the back straight they go. And Buck 20's used a lot of battery to keep P3 in his account, as through goes both Thanasi and Stark. You feel like such a sitting duck at the front of the queue if you don't have DRS or any slipstream effects, as Jamie Tarquin has had an issue at the castle section, brushes the wall on the right-hand side as he gets it back together. But this race is not going his way whatsoever. After such a promising qualifying, it is a race to forget at the moment, but all can change. Stark goes through on Thanasi, meanwhile, into the left-hander. Gloves are off between those two, which is a surprise, given that those up ahead are sort of floundering. So, really, now's the time to take advantage of it, as there's another yellow flag. What is going on? It might well be Jamble having another small issue. In fact, he basically lost a second out of the downhill left-hander. So it is entirely possible that he was the perpetrator of such an event. Through the car, my God, Stark's pace through the castle section. I've just seen two temps decimated in the blink of an eye, completely and utterly annihilated. And yes, Pathiman will have DRS benefits at his disposal. As Jamie Tarquin's retired, he goes into the pit lane. And now just over, or basically just at the halfway stage of this contest, Jamie Tarquin bows out of the Baku City Circuit race. Up ahead, we have an Alpine making a move. I've no doubt about that. Buck 20, defend to the inside all you want, but Pathiman says, I'm coming through. And through he does go. Alpine third and fourth on the road. And it's a dream scenario for the French-based team in their constructors fight as well. Remember, they are trying to put pace at everybody else's hopes at the moment. To have two cars up there consistently is going to make a world of difference. No overtaking is able to be done as the ailing car of Jamie Tarquin, you'll see him in the background, pulls off into the runoff area. It's actually rather dangerous, all things considered. Could have gone on the exit of turn number 2, but no, had to go all the way down the back straight as well. Disrupt everybody else's overtaking opportunities. Disgraceful. Do better, Jamble. Another yellow flag. What is the Baku bomber doing? He's gone straight on. Is that like some brake trouble? He must be having some kind of brake trouble because he's gone straight on into the wall. Hardly ever seen... Well, I mean, he's not got front wing damage at least, which is good news for him. But even so, the absolute worst case scenario for the man donning red. Meanwhile, the other man in red's having a great time of things. Buck 20, keeping up with Pathiman as best he can. Trying to keep himself the least vulnerable from the Ferrari behind as possible. But Thanasi's getting pulled along as well. Terziak hasn't got the pace, despite the age of his tyres. Stark's got older tyres. He's got 3-lap older tyres. And despite having to change his front wing, he's now going through on Buck 20. Into P5 he goes. And Thanasi goes through as well. But that's only because Buck 20 has to go into the pits. Must have transparent walls on. Yeah, bro, I mean, he looked like he'd buried himself in the Baku barrier, but alas, he did not. I'm pretty sure this is just some kind of visual glitch, because every time I watch them try and go in the pit lane, they spend an age in the pit box and then teleport out again. So I never trust the pit lane graphic anymore, but out of the pits comes Buck 20, just ahead of his teammate, using P11 on a fresh set of hard compound tyres, and now it is balls to the wall, all guns blazing to the end of this race. Stark, meanwhile, putting on the pressure on Pathiman. He and Thanasi have work to do. They know that there is a good chance, provided they make the move thick and fast, of being able to usurp this man in P1. Timalele still going on those harder compound tyres, approaching, well, to change the counter in the top left-hand corner to lap 28 of the Baku City race. He's driven flawlessly. He has driven absolutely flawlessly. Hard tyres didn't really want to fire up in that opening stage, but once he found his groove and ran the rhythm, there was no stopping his rise up the ranks, as Stark does get through on Pathiman before DRS is even applicable, and Thanasi will do very much the same. Down the inside goes the Williams man, slotting in behind the Scuderia Ferrari ahead of him. Both of these two working together immaculately to get up the order with great ease. My girlfriend says, zoomy zoom. You can say that again. Pathiman looks to the inside of Thanasi. You would have to be one brave man to feint down the inside of Thanasi. That is all I'm saying. Meanwhile, a nice little scrap going on for the outer reaches of the top 10. For P11, actually, between Maximus and Milo. Through goes the Kick Sauberman for the time being. But as you can see, both on about the same age of tyres. So, it is a fair fight. Good news. Back to the castle section then. Thanasi keeping in the wheel tracks of Mr. Stark up ahead. Their next target to try and chase down is Tyrrell in the Alpine. But he himself is trying to catch Slam, who, by the way, has had searing pace. Shout out to a couple of drivers, by the way. Slam being one of them. He has got a relatively sizable undercut. He is on the mediums as well, which will probably explain why his pace is so good. But he has had searing pace. He has had some wonderful battles and moments in that Kick Sauber car this race, and continues to do so. Shout out as well to my husband Magico, currently in P8, running a very consistent race and looking to bring some good points home for the Mercedes outfit. He's constantly been learning how to use no assists. It has been a long battle to try and wrestle that bull by the horns, but my husband has done it very admirably. So good on you. Tyrrell is about to breach the DRS barrier. In fact, he just has. Hardly anything in it, but just wasn't within the detection point to ignite the DRS-fueled destruction. Has to wait in behind. Thanasi again darting to the inside as Tyrrell actually makes contact with the wall on the outside. You can ill afford to do that too many times because that front wing is fragile at the best of times. And it will disintegrate. I would know from my very first Blackout race in Imola, which we don't talk about. Lap 29. Timalele will pull the pit lane trigger at some point in this race, although he can be pretty happy with the fact that hardly any of his rivals have managed to chomp away at the gap. At least not substantially enough. Tyrrell finally gets into DRS range, and comfortably in DRS range of the Sauber man ahead. And as long as there's a good exit, providing he does that, which he certainly does, there is an overtake on the cards. Through the chicane they go. Line of least distance and resistance. DRS will be wide open. And it's an academic Alpine move. It's an A-star standard thesis on how to do a DRS overtake. Pulling out of the wheel tracks and into P2. Easily breezes Tyrrell as a fastest lap of the Grand Prix goes the way of Thanasi, a 142.8. The first 142 lap we have seen this race goes to the Williams man, and he is going to help propel Stark along down this back straight, although a mistake out of the left-hander, probably not part of the game plan. Raiden says just need 1 sec. You know what? I am mesmerised there hasn't been a safety car yet, given that it is Baku. It's unprecedented. I really can't quite believe it. Milo, meanwhile, is through. That's why Magico's in P8, because he hasn't pitted yet. Neither has Dirkleton, and it is going to bite. Well, they're going to have to bite the bullet eventually. And it is biting them where it hurts, as both McLarens are through, past the Red Bull man. Maximus only just gets through as well, but it's been held up enough that Milo has a comfortable margin and can begin to deploy his pace effectively. His teammate trying to get through to Magico as Thanasi gets within DRS range of Slam up ahead. Timalele still going strong. He feels there's no need to pull into the pit lane and fit the medium tyres. He knows he's got good pace on his Mercedes wagon. Through the chicane they go. Looking at Thanasi will ride on board with the Williams man as we head down the main straight. DRS will be wide open. Flap will be gaping. And Thanasi will be diving down the inside before too long. Defending another fastest lap of the race for Thanasi. Absolutely flying with the help of DRS at his disposal. He wants those 3 points in his account. There's a yellow flag, though. Maximus has had an issue, going very gingerly towards the chicane. And he's got half a front wing, effectively. Luckily, enough aerodynamic underneathness to be able to propel him along. But while one kick Sauber is in the doldrums, the other one flying high. But it's not enough to stop Thanasi. He breezes through into P3. And now the mission, the conquest for even more, begins. Jay says, my brother, I have arrived. Indeed you have. And there is no better time to arrive because we're on lap number 31 of the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. And now we're going to see more of these flooding in. Track limit penalties, and the Flying Scotsman is one of them. And good grief, Slam made a huge mistake out of there. Stark sniffs an opportunity to try and go round the outside. That would be almightily brave, and he thinks better of it as they head into the left-hander. Again, just a little bit of work to disjoint Slam and disrupt his flow one little bit more, and that will mean a much, much easier DRS affair as they head down the main straight. And while Tyrrell is using his pace and chomping into Timalele's lead, Thanasi has got DRS on the Alpine man. It's been a long time coming. We haven't seen these two Lockhorns very much this season, or at least it feels like I haven't. But now is the time. Another fastest lap of the Grand Prix, and Slam has to bite the bullet. He's only used medium tyres this race. He will have to switch onto another compound, and if he's gone onto the mediums, he's a fool. A slosh of the blood plasma of Christ, and he is not a fool. He has fitted on the soft compound tyres, as my husband has to relinquish P8. A very, very solid and strong stint from my darling. But he will have to descend down the order. Only just a little bit, though. Down to P11 he goes. And it looks like it could be a top 10 finish for Mr. Magico quite comfortably. And that is all he'll want from this contest. Some consistency, some evidence of decent pace, and the ability to keep it out of the walls around a track where it is notoriously difficult to do so. He is certainly doing it today. But now to the front, where things look to ignite. The fire and brimstone shall rain on and rage on ferociously. Because here comes Thanasi on Tyrrell. Gap now just under 20 seconds between Tyrrell and Timalele up ahead. Some battery deployment from the Williams driver. And he can afford to do that because with how quickly you can save the battery in this game, there is no reason why you shouldn't be able to deploy your battery, put the car ahead under a bit of pressure, because with the DRS and whatnot, you can save it just as quickly. That's how strong it really is. And through into T1 there you go, and Timalele actually has got an insane amount of straight line speed, either that or just deployed enough battery to build that margin to a comfortable state again. But just as quickly as he makes it comfortable, Timalele's lost a lot of time. I have no idea what's happened. The gap's now down to 14 seconds. It was so safe. I have no idea what's happened. The Baku bomber is behind Timalele. Have they crossed paths drastically? Gap's now down to 9 seconds. What is going on for Timalele? A huge slide out the right-hander. What is going on for the race leader? He has capitulated in the most catastrophic way. The gap now 9 seconds. Make that 8 seconds. What on earth has gone on for the Mercedes driver? He had scorching pace for such a long time and now finds himself in an immensely vulnerable position. There must be something post-race that can tell us exactly what's happened. The story of this race fully yet to be explored. The gap now under 8.5 seconds. Tyrrell and Thanassi could be going for ultimately the race-winning position. That will be the race-winning fight. Timalele hardly anything left to fight with. Possibly now just praying for a safety car. His flag's now at half-mast. That's... EA, I see what you're doing, and I don't like it. Towards T1 we go then. I'm just watching the pace of Timalele here, because I can't quite believe what's happened here. A gap that looked so immensely secure, unless my timing screen was just faulty. That is entirely possible. But I cannot believe he shipped that much time so quickly. The gap's descended to new depths on lap 34. We're 2/3 of the way through this race. And the story is this. Timalele, who had such a comfortable margin out in front, 20 seconds just about, between himself and the rest of the pack, has lost absolute truckloads of time in the last laps, and he's made a mistake. Another costly error for the Mercedes man out of the right-hander, and his competitors will sniff blood in the water. They're not pushing to 110%. Gap now under almost 7 seconds. This will need to be explored. Gap now under 7 seconds. Stark is waiting in the wings as well in case these two come to blows and it all just boils over a bit too much. The cauldron and the concoction of battle is brewing at an immense rate. And what could be the battle for the lead of the Azerbaijan Grand Prix is well and truly unfolding. Thanassi goes through with DRS to take the provisional race lead of the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. And another fastest lap. The time's coming down every single time. Millimetric mistakes can prove so costly. Timalele will feel like it's way more than millimetric. Wilco's putting him under so much pressure. I mean, that can hardly help him realistically. But Tyrrell's got straight past Thanassi again. These two know Timalele not exactly a threat now unless a safety car emerges in the closing stages. So they're willing to go to combat. They're willing to battle it out as Wilco goes into barrier for a brief moment. A gentle peck on the cheek. And Barrier luckily is absolutely fine with that. Snapdragon. Well, the first half of that is what I saw Timalele do last lap. Hence why now the gap is 6.5 seconds. Where just a few fleeting moments ago, a few laps ago rather, it was teetering on the edge of 20 seconds. And this must be his play now. He must be praying for a safety car to emerge in this race. That is the only way he keeps this lead and makes the playing field level again. If that doesn't emerge, his race has gone from a very optimistic position into a purely and phenomenally pessimistic. And Wilco might have just given him the lifeline as he ricochets off the barriers in what I can only describe as a dramatic circumstance. He must be listening in to potentially give a safety car up, but he's into the pit lane. Is the Baku bomber going for explosions and fireworks, but this could spell the end of his afternoon. Unless he goes in for soft tyres, which is entirely possible. A new nose regardless for the Ferrari driver. And out he goes. He walks the lonely road. Being lapped by Slam, that is Wilco. Slammer Jam on the move. He's P7, actually. Slam's had a great race. He's executed a two-stop brilliantly. Has missed a Slam. But equally, well, I mean, the two-stop wasn't too bad for Buck 20 either. He is in P8, and if we look here, it is an improvement on where he started. 3 positions worth of an improvement, actually. So, not all is bad. Raiden says, whoa, the gap closed. I know. Blink and you'll miss it. In the space of 3 or 4 laps, it went from 20 seconds to where we are now. Just under 6. Timalele's only got so long he can go on for before he does have to eventually concede. As Magico gets past Dirkleton for P10 on those newer tyres. Dirkleton, the only other driver that hasn't pit yet. I assume he's also waiting out for the slug-out safety car that could well emerge as the 2 McLarens are getting tantalisingly close to battling. That could be interesting. But, again, the battle for the provisional lead of this race, pending there are no safety cars, continues. It rages on, and ravaging the gap all the while is the Williams man. The Xbox boss. DRS open. Tyrrell defending to the inside. Thanasi will say, fine then. I'll play your bluff. I'll look to the outside. Tyrrell defends it nicely though. Uses the rear quarter of the car just to deter Thanasi from making a switchback or trying to hold it round. And Thanasi doesn't get the optimum exit out of the left-hander. In fact, these two don't really need to battle furiously hard. All they need to do is just use the pace they already have, and they will catch Tim Alele. They don't even need to worry about that. Tim's got to go into the pits. He has to go into the pits. There is no ifs or buts about it. He has to pit from the lead of this race. It was all so comfortable. It was like being in the bed knobs and broomsticks. But no. There's only so much luxury one man can have. And so when Alpine and Thanasi go into combat, I'm seriously getting deja vu here. I don't know what it is. Just me? Probably just me. Lap 37 of the Baku City Circuit spectacle. An astonishing Azerbaijan Grand Prix has been rampaging on furiously. And the fire still only just getting ignited. There have been promises of fireworks all the way through. Some absolutely crucial comebacks from the Ferrari in 4th and this man in the Williams, Thanasi. Crucial comebacks that have paid massive dividends. And again, another chance of and a bite of the DRS cherry. And Thanasi savours the sweet feeling of taking the provisional lead once again. Here on lap 38 of the race. Gap down to 5.6 seconds. Not the best turn 1 as Tyrrell looks to the inside. But a good exit is all he needs, and he will have DRS again. Although, dicing with barrier is not the way to do it. Jalen says it's just me. Honestly, I swear this happened at some point. It really is just me. I'm gaslighting myself. 5.2 seconds the gap. I do suspect Thanasi's probably got more pace in reserve than Tyrrell does. I believe a couple of laps difference. Nope, never mind. Same age. Same age of tyres. It just felt like Thanasi got held in there for an eternity. That's why. But same age of tyres, and Thanasi's absolutely flying. However, the man I will commend the most is this man in P4. Stark had to change his front wing. Deliberately do an undercut. Made a massive mistake, and Dirkleton's... Well, there's a yellow flag where Dirkleton is, as he goes straight on. Resets the car, and away he goes again. I'm not entirely sure what happened there, but he's back on his feet. Or wheels, should I say. And we carry on racing. The gap now down to 3.8 seconds as Wilco retires from the session. It's a virtual safety car. Will it be the full safety car? It doesn't look like it. Unbelievable, that. Absolutely unbelievable. Oh, no, it is. It's a full safety car. Well, there you go. Tim Alele's prayers have been answered. And the Baku bomber has just airstriked everybody else's state of affairs. And, well, everyone else will be coming into the pits anyway. It's going to be a soft tyre spectacle until the end of the race. And the Baku bomber crashing out of the castle section. That will do it. That is his evening done. And so it's the battle of the pit crews. Soft tyres on for Thanasi. Out he goes. It's clean as you like. And out into P2 goes the Williams driver. Tyrrell in P3. Stark in P4. Timalele, miraculously, despite everything, despite all of the mistakes, has been thrown a lifeline. He will hold the lead as we enter behind the Aston Martin safety car. Speaking of Aston Martin, here's Terziak. Also on the soft tyres. I think you'd be hard-pressed to find someone who doesn't go on the soft tyres. McLaren opting for the double stack. Magica, I imagine, will also go on the soft tyres. As Slam exits the pit lane, he's just come out. That's brave. Buck 20 needed a front wing, so that's probably why he was so slow. Milo into the lane he goes, and it won't be a front wing necessary for the McLaren man. And as you can see, it will be a swift production from the Woking-based team as the Brackley-based team behind look to get to work. Maximus, however, decides not to pit. Basically one of the few drivers who will not gamble on a fresh set of tyres. Pathiman, by the way, interestingly, the only driver that's gone on to a fresh set of medium compound tyres. And that could throw things wide open, especially if the softs do melt. If they're like the surface of Mount Etna, then we know that they have done a massive balls up, and it will be a strategic masterstroke from the French connection. You have to forge your own fairy tale sometimes, and Pathiman is going for it in dramatic circumstances, and you never know. There is still some surprises to be had in this race. I'm absolutely certain of it. Lap number 40. 11 laps to go of the Azerbaijan Grand Prix here in the Blackout Racing League, and this is what it looks like. Timalele, your race leader for Mercedes. Wilco says, Stewart's report for that, the wall turned in on me. Fair enough. Oh no. Buck has just decided that this race is double the points due to the length. Which means double chaos. He's absolutely right. Double the points, double the chaos. We shall see that unfold in front of our very eyes. So for some people who might have done a two-stop strategy, which might not have paid dividends, they now have a second chance at life. Oh yes, they do. They now can bunch up to the pack, and now they get a chance to go properly racing. For those of them that had done the one-stop and were looking pretty, and sitting very pretty, looking to overtake, circa Thanasi, Tyrrell and Stark, for instance, that's not going to happen because safety car saved this man. Because the wall turned in on Wilco. Evidence, yeah. They actually turned in on him. Which I can't really believe, but unfortunately you all have to believe it because that is what happened. It's a shame. It's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes in Formula 1, but we'll go back to the dressing room, have a talk with the boys. We'll come back swinging. And, yeah, you know, it's just one of those things. It's an incident. Let's talk about Baku in real life then. We obviously had the Baku Grand Prix in 2024, won of course by Oscar Piastri. The McLaren car, mighty quick, round the Azerbaijan streets, and Oscar Piastri drove a blinder. Did an absolutely delightful overtake on Charles Leclerc. Absolutely delightful, and then of course, the big talking point as well was Sergio Perez and Carlos Sainz crashing into the wall. And Well, yes, in some parts, Science shouldn't have come across to the left. And... But, yeah, Science shouldn't have come across to the left, really, should he? Like, why squeeze? What's the point? But equally, Sergio, all that space to your left you could have used to avoid the crash and save your team a costly cost cap bill that you didn't decide to take. Ultimately, you would have had DRS anyway. And you would have been alongside. You could have gone for the dive into the next left-hander. Just saying. Could have waited. You would have scored 12, maybe even 15 points. Instead, you lost all of them. So, I mean... Just saying. That'll be a miracle if he even stays on the grid. If he is even going to stay on the grid. I'll be shocked if he does. I say that every year, but I'll be shocked if he does. Especially this one. When Max Verstappen wins in Sao Paulo by about 20 seconds and Perez isn't even in the top 10. In the same car. Which was the quickest in the wet around Sao Paulo. Red Bull got it right around Sao Paulo, let's be honest. But Perez did not. Even with Hamilton using the new spec. Which, by the way, that's another contentious talking point I will talk about. Mercedes, obviously, have given Hamilton the new spec of car. And Russell has the Silverstone winning spec. Which, obviously, other teams have now outdeveloped. I.e. Ferrari, McLaren, and even Red Bull to some extent. Ish. But... you can tell that the new parts don't work. I think it didn't take a genius to do that. Russell was quicker in Mexico than Hamilton, who had the new parts. And it was only when his front wing was slightly damaged that Hamilton could use his race pace. The fact he even kept up, considering how stiff the car looks, and how much of a diva it looks to drive, is admirable, all things considered. Safety car in this lap. We don't have to talk about Mercedes anymore because they're a travesty in real life. But here in Blackout, they're anything but. As Tim Alele will lead the field with just 10 laps of racing to go. Thanasi getting very racy. Almost putting his front wing alongside Max Verstappen style back in the day before it was outlawed. He's a history maker, a game changer. But yeah, they're giving Hamilton the new parts, and I think it doesn't take a genius to figure out that they know they're slower. And everyone can see that they're slower, but they're giving them to him anyway. For obvious reasons, obviously, but, you know. It is what it is. He's off to Ferrari. I'm sure he won't mind that much. Tim Alele will choose when to pull the trigger. Let's ride on board with Thanasi. Just weaving a little bit up ahead. Thanasi not choosing to do so. Just keeping himself ready and waiting. He is locked in. Waiting for Tim Alele to stamp his foot to the floor. He thought about it there. And Tim Alele's practically pushed Thanasi into the pit lane. That was almightily rude. Although I imagine he didn't expect Thanasi to get alongside that much. Equally though, we are back racing here at Baku, and Maximus has already made a move round Magico. All the cars in a caterpillar, essentially, as they head through the second corner. Lots of side-by-side action between Buck 20 and Milo. All of it, or both of which, should I say, side-by-side with the Aston Martin car of Terziak. To the inside goes Buck 20, but Terziak chops across the McLaren man. And Milo's got Maximus to worry about behind. Round the outside goes the kick salver. That's a delightful move from Maximus there. Wonderful stuff. Running rings around the opposition. Ignore the safety car graphic. It is wrong. Magico going into combat with Buck 57. Towards the right-hander they go, and in the end has to concede. Just going to wait. Cut the curbs nicely with the number 69. Nice. But the big question is up at the front. What happens next? Already some spice going on between these two. Thanasi and Tim Alele. Thanasi practically doing his race practice in the qualifying session. Some of the drivers have their own unique ways of preparing. That's Thanasi's way. Tim Alele's way, more often than not, playing Minecraft. It seems to work pretty well for him. Maybe everyone should start playing Minecraft. As we head over the line, no one is outside of a second of anyone. Dirkleton's the closest. In fact, now is the only one to do so. As Buck 20 finally gets his man. Gets Terziak up into P7. Buck 20 loved the soft tyres at the beginning. And now with DRS enabled, There is a good chance he's going for even more here. Pathyman on the mediums so far. Not a gamble that's paying off. DRS, of course, will be his. The slam goes through for the time being. And now Pathyman can attend the retaliation station with some rear wing flappage. To the inside he goes. Slam squeezes his avenue. But Pathyman is comfortably cleared the Sauberman as they head into the left-hander. No opportunity for a switchback. Maximus is round. Maximus is round. And he has to remain so careful to get out of the way. And it's a fabulous flick spin, I'm not going to lie. That is an absolutely fabulous flick spin to get back on his way. But it's no consolation. He is plumb lost and with it all to do. Dirkleton, meanwhile, gets a 10-second time penalty for ignoring yellow flags. Naughty sausage. Through the castle section. Magicos managed to overtake Milo in all of that. Can't explain how that happened because I don't really know how it happened. But Thanasi's piling on an enormous amount of pressure onto Timalele's shoulders. Near enough infinite hydraulic press levels of pressure being applied at every nook and cranny of the Baku City circuit. Every flick of the wheel, every single mile an hour on the counter, every single ounce of slipstream and the deploying of DRS. It's going to be a comfortable overtake for the lead of this race. And I wouldn't be surprised if Tyrrell tried to do much the same. But it will not be. It will be the singular overtake. Thanasi finally takes the lead of the Baku City circuit race. And now Timalele's got it all to do. Yellow flag. Terziak's gone off in a dramatic circumstance. He's got into the runoff at turn number 1. And now has Maximus for company. In fact, Maximus on the outside could look to try and retaliate. Look at this. The fight for the wooden spoon. You gotta love it. DRS open for the Sauber driver. To the inside he goes. Emerald Green Machine versus Shrek Machine. And through goes Shrek Machine for Shrek is life. Back to the action at the front then. Thanasi will try instead about eating up the miles, but has to get out of DRS range. That's his first item on the menu. As they head through the castle section, go so narrow to that wall. Absolutely on the ragged edge. It's millimetric mistakes that determine, well, the difference between him staying on the track and careering into barrier. He's almost breached the gap of a second already. Through the left-hander, he's done just that. Thanasi hasn't tasted winning glory in what feels like a while, but he's doing everything he can to put himself at the forefront of that conversation. Towards the DRS line they go. He's got no battery left to fight with. Timalele's got just a bit more. Will have DRS. He will have DRS under his name. And Tyrrell is just going to be watching as the DRS slipstream snake can begin. Bloody hell, look how late on the brakes Tyrrell was, and it meant Timalele had to just feint a defence a tiny bit. Could cost him, and it does cost him. Possibly enough for Thanasi to keep the lead of this race. But that's providing Timalele doesn't have enough ERS to put a move on the Williams driver. And a defence to the inside. A really robust move to deter Timalele. Goodness me. Just about does enough. And now it's all to do again for the Mercedes driver. And Tyrrell is well and truly waiting in the wings in case any mistakes are made by any two cars up ahead. Stark in hot pursuit as well, by the way. And look who else. I said the medium tyres weren't working initially. Take a wild guess. I think they're working pretty well now, don't you? Pathyman on a charge. Out of reach of the top 5. In fact, right at the bottom end of the top 5. But could easily ascend up. Given how abrasive the soft tyres are. Given how Pathyman was the man who was the bold one to go onto the medium tyres. Play that strategic gamble. And it looks like it could pay off as we enter into the closing stanza of this race. Thanasi out in front, opting to save battery. Timalele not opting to save battery, has used a bit of ERS, and now is a little bit of a sitting duck as they head through. Thanasi's used a bit of battery to combat the Mercedes man, and Tyrik's the man on the move, looking to the outside of the Mercedes driver, just as the car a bit alongside, but he's gone wide, and look who's there! Stark trying to go down the inside of Tyrik, but backs out, just has to bide his time a little bit more. Big Sam saying that Terziak's doing his best to ensure that he stays the #1 driver. Well, Big Sam, you might not be wrong, my friend. Come back and carry the Aston Martin, men. We need the saviour. Everyone stayed in their positions. I don't know what to tell you. It's lap number 46. We have 6 tours. Yes, 6 tours. I'm glad my maths is still relatively firing on all cylinders. Of the Baku City circuit to go. Thanasi, at the moment, your race leader. Timalele P2. Look how much battery they can save. It's unbelievable. An unprecedented amount of electrical energy. A Stark gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. We said they'd start coming in, and now everyone has to be a little bit careful as we get to the end of this race. Just to make sure that they don't overstep the boundaries too much to keep themselves in contention. Thanasi dicing with the white lines there. Pushing to the absolute limit and some more. Timalele's used a bit of battery just before the DRS detection point. Thanasi could easily use the same, and it's very interesting actually. He uses it as they get to the DRS line, but it won't be enough in this scenario. Timalele goes through into the lead of this race once again. There was a yellow flag moment for Vulcan, meanwhile, had a spin at the final corner, and there's a big tag slapper through the chicane. Luckily, there's no one behind him, so can just reset like that. That was a Hugo slide. You go, boss. Terziak's still on Maximus, meanwhile. Feels like real-life Aston Martin right now. Fighting for any scraps they can. But this is not real life. This is the Blackout Racing League. And so we shall carry on. Tyrik has been displaced because Stark has been very, very ruthless with his overtaking opportunities, or at least trying to feint the moves, and so briefly dislodges Tyrik from the DRS range of the 2 cars ahead. And in typical Thanasi fashion, doesn't really let the opponent have it lying down. He will remain underneath your diffuser as much as possible. Memories of Zandvoort a couple of seasons ago where I had to do just that. Stupidly quick round Zandvoort and pushing Timalele round the left-handers. It's a Leviathan's offensive assault from Thanasi with just 4 tours almost to go. A big slide from Tyrik out of the final corner as he tries to get any morsel of power into the Pirelli tyres. It's all coming together. The top 5 all in this Caterpillar. You can hardly separate them. But again, Thanasi will have DRS, uses a bit of battery, and will pull alongside the Mercedes man. Thinks about it for certain as Pathiman takes the fastest lap. Looks to go round the outside, does Tyrik. He hits the wall. Stark goes through. Pathiman goes through into P4. The man who just taken the fastest lap of the race usurps his teammate and now sets his sights ahead. Don't count Pathiman out of this whatsoever as Thanasi gets through into the left-hander, turn number 3. It's an academic move with DRS, and Stark now looking to the outside, possibly a switch back on if he's feeling cheeky. And oh my god, he's feeling cheeky. He's going round the outside of the left-hander. Stark's done an absolutely marvellous move right on lap number 48. Hardly any laps to go. Timalele feints a move to the inside. In fact, almost dives down the inside, embroiled in the frustration of being caught potentially napping. It's a Ferrari move with a flourish. It's a moment the Mercedes man will want to forget. But Stark now has to get within DRS again if he has any chance of winning this on the track. Perhaps this was the turning point. Perhaps this was the moment where Thanasi knew it was signed, sealed, delivered. That he finally could have the confidence in himself and the psychological warfare could be done with. He knew he was out of DRS and it was surely over. But Stark again, such is the strength of the slipstream. He is again, well, Timalele's just absolutely trounced him. Stark dives down the inside though. Doesn't let Timalele have it on a platter. Goodness me. It's absolutely rapturous racecraft from every single person here in Baku's city circuit. With just a couple of laps to go. And the turning point hasn't arrived. Timalele still very much in DRS range of Stark up ahead. I mean, of Thanasi up ahead, my apologies. Stark providing hot pursuit again. And with another world-class move, it could all change once again. That is why we love this series. That is why I love this series. Thanasi, though, again, applying his pace to perfection through that chicane before making his way to the castle section, just keeping the gap at arm's length. It means Timalele has to push a little bit more to keep within DRS. That could ultimately mean more mistakes, mean more millimetric errors. That provides, well, the Ferrari the chance to keep himself in play, to provide Thanasi with the breathing space he needs to win this race. It is all calculated supremely intelligently by Thanasi, who will be calling a Starfleet soon if I'm not careful with my phrases. But it has been... It's a sublimely calculated ending stanza from the Williams driver. Despite everything, keep your head cool, force your opponents and your rivals to push harder than they otherwise would need to, and you might be onto a winner. Timalele, of course, not fighting Stark too hard. He's hoping he can get back within a second of Thanasi. Through these first two corners we go, and Stark will just get DRS. Not long at all to go, and Thanasi actually, it looked like he made a mistake, has dipped to the inside immediately to stop Stark getting a sublime slipstream, and so he shall not. The Alpine's going into combat behind. We can't have a French implosion. That is not on the table, lads. Don't do that. What are we doing? Thank you, Sam. I appreciate it, man. Maximus has had an issue, meanwhile. What's he done? He's going for a hop and a skip over the curbs in the pit lane. Very interesting, but now Stark is applying the pressure to Thanasi up ahead. I think I could easily say that Stark was the most likely driver to really put Thanasi to the sword today. The Italian stallion running rampant from the back of the grid. Certainly wants to win this on the track. And he will do everything he can to achieve that goal. A slide from Pathiman in the background though. And he's down to 5th again. Was putting the pressure on Timalele. And ultimately flipped that pressure and inverted on himself. But back to the front. There's one man who wants to win this. And one man who wants to win this on the track. And it's the Scuderia sensation. Mr. Stark, calculated, cool, calm, crucially through into P1 and with the fastest lap of the Grand Prix to his name as we enter the last lap of racing of the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. The final stanza, the closing chapter. Who will take home a story to remember here in Baku as there's overtakes going on behind. Buck 57 gets past Magico for P9, but he has a time penalty next to his name. It's all about saving the battery now. Stark's at the head of the queue. Thanasi and Timalele with about the same battery. Both somewhat clattering over the curbs. Oh no! Magico, what have you done? Magico with front wing damage. He's still in a good position. It's absolutely fine. Back to the front. Into the castle section for the final time. It'd be banter if someone crashed now, wouldn't it? Never mind, we don't get fun. Through the left-hander we go. Gap sitting on 0.4 of a second between Stark and Thanasi. Timalele, try as he might, he got thrown a lifeline. A luscious lifeline at that. But it has just not proved to be enough for this closing stage of the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. It will be won on the track by one of these two. Either way, a deserving winner on the road. It looks like Stark could have enough of a gap. He's going to use every ounce of battery, I am sure of it. But here comes Thanasi in a dastardly drag race to the line. A delightful drag race in the context of Thanasi. He hasn't had one in a while, but he wins the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. It's been a long time coming for the Williams sensation. But Williams are back to winning ways. Thanasi back to the top step of the podium. This is fantastic. What a race around Baku. Look how close Pathiman was to a podium in the end. 22 thousandths of a second was all that separated Tyrrell and Pathiman. But in the end, Alpine still 3 and 4, which for their Constructors' Championship conquest context is all they needed to see. Magico in the end did come through to claim P10. Stark came through P5. Oh my god, my voice. Oh my god. Woo! What a race. What a race. Absolutely brilliant. Can only be taken home by one. The man who ran rampant, completely cutthroat, calculated, cool, collected, lifts the trophy to the heavens. He can savour the sweet feeling of victory once again. Thanasi back on top in Blackout. Feels like it's been a while, but there can be no disputing. He's ready to come back and claim the championship crown. He's not ready to let everyone else run away with it. Not just yet. Pathiman said he was so close. You were so close, man. I'm doing so well. That race was absolutely fantastic. I hope you're doing well too, my friend. Delightful race. Well done, my friend. Buck said almost an Alpine double podium. Such is real life. Such is real life. So there you go. I'm doing as you should be. That was wonderfully driven by you. Absolutely fantastic. Well, what I was expecting to be a bonkers Baku race did turn out to be quite bonkers. But in a lot of ways, Baku was beautiful. What a race. Blackout is back, ladies and gentlemen. And Blackout is always on top. That is all I will say. Magico says, I'm so upset. Lap 510, he got a lag spike, racing Milo, and then spun on the second corner last lap. Yeah, it happens. It happens. Let me tell you a story. Back in my day, when I was racing in Belgium, I was racing someone who, I think they just won the Baku race, actually. But I was sandwiched between two Mercedes cars of Buck 57 and Thanasi. And I had a big brain moment, because obviously I didn't want to... Well, really, I should have just preserved it, because my championship rival got disqualified. It was looking good for me. But obviously, ego, I wanted to win. So, I had a really big brain idea. I decided that instead of do the sensible thing, and perhaps just let Buck 57 through, succumb to third place, that I wanted the win. I had a lot of battery. A safety car had just ended. I was on the soft tyres. I used my battery in the slipstream with Thanasi. I was on the inside of Blanchimont. It was about halfway alongside. But the problem is, if you try and go side by side at... Oh, on F123, if you try and go side by side at Blanchimont, more often than not, there's a very succinct outcome to that potential encounter, and that is death. And I almost received death. I spun. I hit his side pod. It wasn't his fault. He left plenty of space, in my opinion. I hit the curb, and it just spooned me off into him, which is unfortunate. I then proceeded to reset myself onto the track with everyone else behind, who then... Well, to say it was Code Brown is putting it lightly. It was more than that. Be doing a disservice to Code Brown. It was it was a shitstorm. It was actually terrible. That was easily my worst moment of season 15. No question about it whatsoever. That and Australia. One, because that was the only race I forgot to record, and two, because I got a drive-through penalty. Even though I didn't exceed the delta, I served my drive-through penalty, and it still gave me 20 seconds at the end. And as much as I said, please let me have it off, they didn't deduct it from me, so I had to settle for P12. It's what it is. It's just racing. It's just an incident, but there you go. What can you do? That's my anecdote for you. It happens to the best of us. And think of it this way. I've never raced on F124 in the Blackout Racing League. So you are 100% more successful. Everyone in the Blackout Racing League is 100% more successful on F124 than I am. How about that? Whew. Well, to conclude then, Baku, absolutely beautiful. Multiple chapters interwoven into the pages of phenomenon. As you saw at the beginning of the race, it was Thanasi who spun round, was too optimistic on the brakes, hit the back of the Alpine of Tyrrell, who got an absolutely interstellar launch down the inside of Tim Alele, the pole sitter, made his way into P1. But then Thanasi had to start the comeback, and the lead of the race had to be decided. Tyrrell proceeded to sprint off into the distance as Tim Alele struggled to fire up the hard tyres. It was an interesting dynamic that developed. But, well, despite all of that, eventually the hard tyres burst into life. Tim Alele made his way to the front and took the lead of the race, but Tyrrell succumbed to the disadvantage of pace and pulled into the pit lane. No problem, Mr. Pathyman. Thank you very much. Have a lovely rest of your evening. Take care, mate. Speak to you soon. And then we had an interesting one. Lots of cars dipping in and out of DRS, especially towards the front. We had Buck 20 on a 2-stopper. We had Slam on a 2-stopper. We had Tyrrell and Thanasi duking out eventually. And also a huge shout out to Stark, who without the 3-second penalty, it's all hearsay and no consolation, but without the 3-second penalty, easily my driver of the day. He absolutely smashed it. Not only did he have to change his front wing during the pit stop, had several lap older tyres than those ahead of him, and nursing an ankle foot issue, he was still one of the fastest out on the track and would have taken P2 on the road and caught up to everybody else despite the delta from changing the front wing. It was a simply superb drive. Absolutely unprecedented drive. Well done, Stark. You're an absolute legend, my friend. But all the drivers did well. Absolutely. Absolutely fantastic stuff. Can I sub to this? I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I have it set up. I don't know how, but you can if you want to. I have no idea how you do it. But, yeah, I guess you don't have to. I don't know. Anyway, let me talk about the Baku race. I can't remember where I was now. Where was I? Safety car, that was it. Timmerly was 20 seconds out in front, and then some shenanigans happened. I have no idea what happened. But some mistakes were made. The Baku bomber was proving to be rather grisly. And so, he lost what was 20 seconds, ended up being 6 seconds. And eventually, under 4 seconds, when Thanasi finally got past and built a gap to Tyrrell behind. So, all that was... Oh, I see. Okay, that's what happened then. The answers coming out in full flow here from the media pen. As Tim Alele says that his Microsoft Teams it opened and it made the game freeze. Honestly, the amount of times my iCloud opens mid-broadcast and makes the game freeze is not even funny. That's mainly... And instead... Oh, Jesus. It stopped your car completely? Huh? Bloody hell. F124 is a great game with no flaws whatsoever. So safety car came out. Luckily, Tim Alele was thrown a lifeline after Microsoft Teams decided to be, well, very unteamly, actually. And then it was a slug out to the end of the race. A couple of drivers on mediums, most of them on softs. But it was all about calculating the gaps, calculating where you wanted to be on what lap, and eventually, the ultimate winner was Tanasi. First time in a while he's been to the top step of the podium. Timalele can still be happy, though. He got P2. He extends his championship lead by quite some margin. A good 24 points to the account. And Alpine almost got a double podium. Tyrrell in third, Pathiman in fourth. 22 thousandths more, and Pathiman, it would have been a change of fortunes. He would have had a podium, but he did get fastest lap. So 3 extra points to the Pussycat for the Alpine driver. The ultimate French connection. And now I need to lie down, because that was unbelievable. I can't tell you absolutely everything that happened. You'll just have to watch it yourselves. And if you have already watched it, watch it again. Savour it. Sample the scintillating moments. The heat of battle could have boiled over so many times in Baku. But all the drivers put on a show tonight and did a great service. And what's more, it's great the Blackout Racing League is back. It's absolutely fantastic. I've missed it. I'm sure you have too. There is no league like it. Question is, where do we go next on our epic journey through Season 17? The answer is, we have a 3-racer. We have a 3-race week. It is Monaco, Monza, and Australia on the agenda. These will all be 35% races, and they will all be absolute chaos from start to finish. So while Baku was just the one slug out, it's going to be the triple threat next week out on the 18th. And Magico also says, apparently, they could all be F2. Which is great, actually. I love a bit of F2. Just a little bit of a curveball thrown in there. Default set... Well, I mean, you know what default setup you're going to use for Monaco and probably Monza. But Australia, maybe some interesting ones to play around with. We shall see. All will become clear in good time. After that... No, my mistake. Well, maybe. Maybe one of them's F2. Not sure. Misread the message from Miller. That's fine. No problem at all. It'd be cool if one of them was F2. Make Monza F2. Do it, lads. But after that, we head to Spain, and then corresponding with the real-life race weekend, Las Vegas. And then the next week, we have Hungary, another sprint race. And then the Equator. Nice. And then we have the 9th of December. We have Portugal in Portimao. I did a commentary there recently on Creator Series, if you want to watch that. That was quite a fun one. Stark says, I hope that race was fun to watch. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I agree track limit penalties are stupid, especially on this game. But, well driven, sir. I commended your driving. I will say it again. You drove superbly all the way through. Your pace was mad. Your pace was absolutely mental, my friend. Well done. Really well done. Abu Dhabi is also on that week. Like, you can tell that Blackout, we do a service here. We correspond with all of the real-life racing. Vegas is with Vegas. Qatar is with Qatar race week. And Abu Dhabi is with, of course, the Abu Dhabi race week. Vegas, of course, in real life, where Max Verstappen could become a 4-times world champion. In fact, more likely than not, he will become a 4-times world champion. No problem, Stark. No problem at all, mate. Just saying it how it is. Qatar, if he doesn't get it in Vegas, he'll probably get it there with a sprint race on the horizon. Lando's got to have the last stanza of the season of his life. But that probably won't happen, unfortunately. I'm sorry, Lando. And then Abu Dhabi. Look at that. Final race week, 16th of December, just over a month from now. Canada and Japan. All of that is to come. But for now, I shall bid you all farewell. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Back in the Blackout Racing League swing of things. What a race Baku was. The Azerbaijan awesomeness comes to an end, for lack of a better term. Next week, it's the triple threat. Monaco, Monza, and Australia. You will want to be there. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. All of that, 8 o'clock on next Monday, the 18th of November. Streamed here on my Twitch channel. Here at KarlsCars. If you don't follow it, give it a follow. And subscribe to KarlsCars, my YouTube channel, because I'm uploading this and all of the Blackout highlights, and actually some actual content, because I'm actually getting round to it now. I'm being a good boy. So go there, subscribe if you haven't already, go to the playlist that says commentary, get your Blackout fix there. All the way back from season 13, I think it was. Go all the way back from there to here. Hardly knew how to stream back then, and now I do a relatively decent job at it. So I'm getting there, bit by bit. Still work to do, but I'm getting there, which is the main thing. There's some people I've got to thank, obviously, who made these wonderful graphics, you might be asking, from the start screen to the standby screen to my face cam box. It's my darling husband, Magico, the Mercedes driver. I adore him to bits. We are betrothed. And not only that, he's pretty good at graphics as well, I guess. Go and follow him on Twitch. He's RD Magico on Twitch, and he's Magico384, I believe it is. Or 83. It's 83. No, it's 834. Magico834 on a YouTube. So if you have an internet, go and subscribe and follow all his socials. J-Lane's also uploaded some previous highlights at J-Land 3. They're from season 15, but they're extremely high production. They're absolutely immense. And of course, thank you to Blackout. The warmest of thanks to Blackout. Without them, I would not be doing what I do today. And I say this every single time, but I feel like I can't ever say it enough. I am eternally thankful for everything they have given me. From create a series to the football commentary to be able to do this every Monday. It's nothing but fun. And they have helped to always keep it fun. And they put on a damn good show every week. And having raced with them as well, yeah, they're pretty good, actually. I'm not going to lie. Stark actually got me for a pole position once, I just remembered. He got me at the final race in Brazil. I thought I was going to improve, and then I invalidated my lap. I didn't improve anyway, so it wouldn't have mattered. Stark just did a great lap. But luckily, my race was a lot better. But that's for another day. Blackout, I love you to pieces. Hand on heart. You're all the best. Blackout is on top. But that'll do it. Thank you all so much for watching. I've been your Blackout Racing League commentator. Have a wonderful rest of your night. And until next time, goodbye.